Hey, what's going on, guys? So I had an awesome idea for today's video.
Oh, what a fool I was. So young, so naive.
You know, like most video game collectors, you kind of collect a little bit of everything. I mean, you know, I have some Super Nintendo games, Nintendo 64, Sega Saturn, and it got me thinking, what if I take one of my collections within the collection and use, you know, price charting or maybe some kind of cataloging app to kind of see the value of the games, right?
Surely this idea won't backfire. Surely the prices haven't changed too much.
So I'm thinking about taking one of these collections, getting the values of the games. I'm going to take the top 3 expensive games I have, and then maybe go over it with you guys to say, hey, is this worth the price?
What could go wrong? Surely nothing could go wrong with this idea.
Maybe, you know, maybe things have changed a little bit with collecting, with the way the market is nowadays.
And that, my friends, is the biggest understatement of the century.
But regardless, you know, I'm going to take the top 3 games of a specific collection and say, hey, is this worth it? So today, I figure I'm going to take one of my smaller collections. We're going to go into the GameCube. And, you know, hey, if you guys like this kind of thing, let me know, because maybe we'll make a fun series out of it. But anyway, let's get going with my GameCube collection.
Good choice, Wolf. Pick the GameCube collection. That's right. What could possibly go wrong with the humble GameCube collection?
Oh my God. So I don't know if it's like pandemic collecting or what, but I had no idea that my humble GameCube collection would be worth so much money. I'm not gonna lie, I think out of my 39 total games, 28 of them all came from a single transaction. It was a pawn store, and every single game was just $2. They just said $2 a game, whatever. So I got the whole stack for like nothing. In fact, I think because I got so many, it was actually cheaper than $2 a game, because $2 is actually the price they had marked. But before I get going too far into this, I do want to give a shout out to the Game Boy Player disc. It's not technically a game, but that disc itself, and then with the Game Boy Player combined, like, sold listings are extremely high. I mean, like in the hundreds. That disc also reaching pretty high figures. I just want to give a shout out to that one. Like I said, it doesn't really count as a game, but you know, I was very much surprised when I started looking through the prices of these games that I have. Like, never in my life would I think a Zelda game, just a regular bog standard Zelda game, be over like $120. But hey, that's neither here nor there. Starting with my most expensive top 3, let's go with number 3. So coming in at number 3 of my collection at $203 is Skies of Arcadia Legends. Now, this is your, kind of bog standard JRPG. It's a good one. Like, I'm not gonna say it's like really bad or anything, but it's just your turn-based JRPG about sky pirates. Funny thing about this game, this is actually a remake. The original was on the Dreamcast. Now, there's actually pros and cons to both, and I will say that, God, I don't know what the price is nowadays, but I do know from past history that Skies of Arcadia on the Dreamcast is also a pretty pricey game. I would be very interested to see how much that game is now. However, talking about this game, the difference between the two is, on the whole, most people seem to say that the Skies of Arcadia on the Dreamcast has the better CD quality soundtrack, while the Skies of Arcadia on the GameCube, they tweaked the gameplay a bit. They got rid of some of the obnoxious grinding and some of the stuff that made Skies of Arcadia, the original one, a little bit worse. But also, I think they added a little bit to this game as well. I will say, though, when recording this, I accidentally put in Tales of Symphonia first, which is another JRPG on the GameCube, and I did, it's not my top 3 as far as price, which is the whole point of this video, but I remember instantly being like, you know what, Tales of Symphonia is like a way better game. It is, in my opinion, it is a way better game. But that said, this is my 3rd most expensive game, Skies of Arcadia. You know, it's gonna be hard for me to do this video to say if any of the games on this list are worth the price, because me personally, you know, I was not thinking ahead when I started this. I did not ever think that these games would be worth so much money. But I will say that this game is really good, but in my mind, it's just not $203. I mean, it's very interesting. I like the combat. I like how the characters move around, kind of like Chrono Trigger. I also like how you can position yourself and the enemies based on what they're going to do to really make the combat a little bit better. The story's really cool, but I mean, $203 for a JRPG. I've never spent that much on a turn-based RPG before. I've never spent that much on a non-collector's edition game before. But you know, hey, that's the third one, and it only gets crazier from here. Now, for the second most expensive game in my very small collection, mind you, at $246, we are talking Chibi Robo. Chibi Robo, for me personally, doesn't even make like the cut of being in my alphabetical part of my shelf. For those of you who don't know, my games are all in alphabetical order, and then when I get like too many games for a system and don't have enough room for like a whole nother shelf, I stack them on top. I put Chibi Robo on top. Like, I'm not saying this is a bad game, but $246? Oh my god. Like, so for those of you who don't know what this game is, not only are you battling the horrible camera controls, but you are battling time and trash. It's a neat game. It's a cool concept. Basically, you are a toy robot living in a house, and you walk around and do little things, mostly pick up garbage and spare coins to upgrade yourself. But as you get more battery life, you can venture further into the house without having to recharge or climb certain things or use certain tools and gadgets. It's cool. It's a neat game. It kind of reminds me, not gameplay wise, but like feeling wise, it reminds me of a Katamari game. I mean, if you've ever played the Katamari games, they're kind of a weird title, but I mean, $246? There's no way in the world that I can recommend, oh yes, go out and pick up this game. I mean, maybe if you're really trying to complete your collection and this is the last one, but I mean, my god, Chibi Robo Ziplash, the special edition version of that came with an amiibo for like the 3DS, you could pick that up at a GameStop for like $10 with the amiibo and everything, game and everything. And that game is just a better version of this game. I mean, I don't know. This list is very taxing. But once again, that is the second most expensive game in my collection for whatever reason. I mean, God, I have so many games, you know, that I would much rather play on the GameCube over this. But for some reason, this one just holds a very high value. Okay, so this game blew me away. This game really, when I saw the price of it, my jaw hit the floor. I had no idea. And the worst part is unlike the last two games, which I was either lukewarm to okay on, this game's actually really, really good. And that is really what makes this the worst. And that is Gotcha Force. So Gotcha Force comes in at a whopping $449. We might as well just call it $450. You know, someone's gonna be paying a little bit of tax for shipping. But, oh my god, okay, I cannot, once again, I can't say that any single video game is worth $450. I love Mega Man Legends. I don't know if I could pay $450 for Mega Man Legends. But that's such a bummer. This game is so good. Alright, so what is this game? Think like Power Stone, but just ramped up. This is made by Capcom, and this is made back when Capcom was doing weird experimental stuff. Like, they were making games, they're just throwing whatever they could at the wall. So Gotcha Force is basically based on the Gachapon, you know, like a quarter machine here in America, where, you know, you put in your quarter, you get a fun little thing. In Japan, you know, they have a ton of them, mostly toys. And nowadays, a lot of, you know, games of, you know, they call them gotcha games on the cell phone, and they're based on the same concept. So what this game is basically like, you know, a big 3D arena brawler. It's awesome, though. There are over 200 characters, and it's so weird, because when you start this game out, the characters just seem like you're like small, you know, kind of action figure kind of things. But then you start fighting boss-type characters that are just massive. I mean, like, I'm talking like a floating battleship that shoots a laser bigger than anything. But the wild thing is you can unlock that as a character playable. You make your own team. The teams are based on points, so you can't make something extremely overpowered. But just on the whole, this game is really cool. Plot-wise, it's kind of a kid's game, I'm not gonna lie. It's, you know, you're a kid and you're buying little toys and you're fighting other people. So I don't even really remember the plot. I mean, I have beaten this game, but it's been a very long time. The main draw is just going in and doing these crazy battles with this huge amount of characters. It's extremely fun, and like I said, that's what hurts so much, because this game is good. This is the only way to play this game. It is a Capcom hidden gem. It is $449. Oh my god. You know, this whole video was supposed to be me saying, hey, here's the 3 most expensive games of blank collection. This one happens to be the GameCube. And can I recommend it for the price? And sadly, I don't think I can recommend any of these games for the price. And if this series continues, I don't know if I'll be able to recommend any game for the price just in general. But I don't know, you know, do you guys play any of these games? Do you have any of these games for your GameCube? Because I'm telling you, you might want to start looking, because you might be sitting on a gold mine. So like I said, that was a shock to my system. I can't believe that those games are worth that much money. You know, it's hard for me to recommend them as a game, you know, for that price. I mean, who would pay that much for a single game? And granted, they're great games, don't get me wrong. But I mean, maybe as an investment? I don't know. This really threw me for a loop, and this is the first set of games I've tried using the price charting method on. So let me know down below if you think these games are worth it, or any game is worth that much money. Or also, let me know if you want me to kind of keep this series going, because I mean, we did GameCube. I got plenty to mess with, obviously, but I don't know. I don't know. Hey, that's gonna do it for us today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you haven't, please do. I'd love to have you around. Please comment down below on anything. So last week we had a little bit of fun on the channel. I used an app from my phone called Game Eye, which I'm gonna start using to catalog my collection. It's something I've been wanting to do for a while. I've had the app for a while. I've just been too lazy. It's free. But a cool thing with the app is you can actually use it to price your collection, and it uses price charting, which is pretty accurate. So if you watched my video last week, you'll know that I started with my GameCube, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to take the 3 most expensive games in my GameCube collection and figure out what their price is, and then let you guys know, do I think that it's worth the money? Now, if you watch that video, well, if you haven't watched that video, go back and check out that video. But if you have watched that video, then you know that those prices were insane. So insane that no matter how good the games may or may not have been, it was hard for me to recommend them regardless. I mean, when you're talking prices that high, it's just too much. It's kind of crazy. So I was going to make the next video in the series. It seems like you guys really liked it, so I was going to keep this rolling. But I had an idea. Before I jump off the GameCube, you know, I was thinking, what about the 3 cheapest games? What about the 3 cheapest games on that list? I mean, like, first off, how much are they? Pennies? Nickels? Who knows? And then on top of that, are they worth it? I will say that I think going forward, I'm going to keep the series going, and I am going to do most expensive and cheapest. So this is the cheapest video for the GameCube, and I will start out, and I'll make sure to say this every time, unless it's like a weird sports title, I'm not going to include generic sports titles. By that, I mean like Madden 2011, 2012, 2013. Those are always worth like $1 or $2, except for like the weird super rare one. But that being said, something that's like a weird standout, like that is a sports game, will be included. But other than that, it will not be included. That being said, let's check out the 3 cheapest GameCube games in my collection and see if they are worth your time. Clocking in at number 3 with a price tag of $15 is the Sonic Mega Collection, and I'm gonna tell you right now, just without even going through all this game is absolutely worth every bit of $15. I mean, I know, I get it. Every single one of these games has been ported over to like 50 different consoles. But I'll tell you right now, this game has just some really great, awesome kind of bonus features. One thing I really, really love is how they have the original manuals for every single game. The cool thing is you flip through them just like if you were to open up your clamshell case on your Sega Genesis and go through it. I mean, they're all scanned, really high quality. It's a really cool thing, and you can check them out in a gallery mode. You can also check them out before starting each game. Another really cool thing they have on here is basically they have cover art for hundreds of the comic books. Actually, they have like the first full series, all of their covers, and then they have a bunch of just kind of extra ones off to the side. It's really neat. I mean, would it be cool if the whole comic was in here? Yeah, probably a little bit cooler. But I mean, once again, this is just a little extra. It's a little freebie. It's really kind of cool that they preserved the history of the comic books. Usually with collections like this, they're only talking about the games. But, you know, back in the 90s, if you grew up then, you knew that Sonic was like way more than just a video game. I mean, it had a TV show, had tons of comic books, and those comic books are actually still being made to this day. So, you know, extras like this are stuff that I really look out for in these collections, and I'm really quite surprised I found this on the cheapest part of my GameCube collection, but once again, stuff like this is just really, really cool to me. Another very cool inclusion with this is the character illustrations. Now, I did notice one thing that's kind of strange about this. You know, with the main characters, they do show some early iterations, but mostly this seems to be art kind of promoting Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, which makes sense, because around the time of this game coming out on the GameCube, they were either have made or were in the process of doing the remakes of Sonic Adventure DX and Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, which, you know, those were originally Dreamcast games, but then they were ported over to the GameCube, thank God. But it's still kind of neat that they show some early concept art. I like how the Eggman one has, like, the old Robotnik and then the new Eggman, but you know, I always like concept art and stuff like this, and once again, just cool extra features to this entire collection. The last thing I kind of really dig about this collection is they have some intro movies from the Sonic franchise. They have the Sonic CD, intro and ending. They have a little kind of like a trailer for Sonic Adventure 2 and Sonic Advance. And then they also have this thing called The History of Sonic, which is like literally just them going through and playing a little bit of every game, showing some dates, showing some stuff. I really think The History of Sonic is a cool deal, maybe worth a watch if you haven't seen it. But it's cool that they included this stuff, especially including the Sonic CD stuff, because that actually isn't on this collection. But, you know, the animation is so good on it, it's really cool that they decided to just kind of preserve it on this GameCube disc. But, you know, I'm pretty sure that if you do end up picking this game, you're not trying to pay $15 just to have a bunch of extras, although me being the kind of history nut I am, I probably would. But that being said, here's a list of all the games you get. You get Sonic 1, 2, 3. You get, of course, the and Knuckles kind of versions of all those you can unlock. Sonic 3D Blast. Depending on if you have the Japanese or English version, there are a couple extras. I think Comic Zone and the Ooze might both be Japanese. Don't quite remember, but they are. You can get them in some capacity. They also have Rystar and Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. Once again, all of the, like, I guess, emulation or the port job is pretty good, and you get a ton of games. If you have a GameCube and for some reason you don't have access to the 1 million different ways to get these games, I mean, for $15, you cannot beat it at all. And the variety's pretty good, too. I mean, you know, you got, of course, the regular Sonic games are all, you know, regular Sonic games, great for history, etc., etc. But you do have, like, Mean Bean Machine in there, which, you know, if you're a big fan of like, puzzle games, well, really, it's just Puyo Puyo. But, I mean, if you're a fan of that, then, hey, that's cool, it's in there. They also have, like, you know, Sonic Spinball, which some people like it, some people hate it, but it's interesting. I mean, it's better than not having Sonic Spinball, I guess. Still, it's a really cool set, and the thing I really do like about this collection is all of the games are basically one-for-one how they were on the Genesis, so all the weird stuff you could do with the debug modes and the cheats and the level selects all still apply. You know, like I said, the fact that this is on the list is kind of crazy to me. I mean, $15. If we're talking, do I recommend it? Absolutely. This is something you should definitely have in your GameCube collection. And, you know, at the price it is right now, it might be something you want to jump on. I'm not going to lie, my second cheapest game, I was really kind of debating including this or not, because it's not really a game, but I mean, It is something I kind of went out of my way to get, and granted, I got it for like nothing. I think I actually did get it for free from a friend, but it's the GameCube preview disc. This thing would be seen at, basically kiosks or maybe a GameStop or something back in the day. But as I went through this thing, I actually think it is well worth the $13 price tag that it comes with. And I'm not just saying that because it's like a not for resale kind of thing. I'm saying that because it has a bunch of really neat extras and history, of course. I feel like I knocked on that a whole lot last time with the Sonic video. But I will say that there's some cool stuff here. They have like DLC for Game Boy Advance. They have stuff for basically Dr. Mario, and they have another thing for WarioWare. If you're a fan of WarioWare, basically you can plug in your Game Boy Advance and download kind of like a thing for it for those two games, which is kind of cool, especially actually if you have a GameCube kiosk. This would be something worth having. But those two features alone are pretty dang neat. You do get some other weird stuff in here though, like this crazy video explaining about the ESRB and why basically playing sports with the wrong ball equals rating games. I don't know. I mean, I get it. They had to do something on there to explain it. I still think it's kind of weird. But other stuff they have is basically these cool sneak peeks at different games that were either at the time upcoming or maybe just released. I mean, they have like F-Zero, Soul Calibur 2, some sports titles, Zelda Wind Waker. I mean, these videos are very interesting. And it's just kind of cool to go back and like look at the history of these. I've been taking these old VHS tapes with like old advertisements and putting them on the channel, and so being able to kind of see something like that in disc form is very cool for me personally. How far that goes for you kind of depends on how you feel about video game history, but it is like I said, to me, really cool to be able to kind of check these videos out and see how they tried to advertise them back in the early 2000s. But then you have a whole bunch of cool playable demos. I mean, they have like Beautiful Joe, and you get a pretty good playtime on Beautiful Joe, I will say. In fact, they even have all the tutorials and like fully show you how to do all the stuff. They have a demo for Splinter Cell, which is really kind of cool. I was never a big Splinter Cell fan, but still, it's kind of neat to have that on this disc. They also have a demo for Billy Hatcher, which like always reminded me of Katamari, but still very cool. But the one that really stands out to me, and maybe this is just because I'm such a big fan of the series, is the Sonic Adventure DX demo. It's kind of crazy because if you've played Sonic Adventure, the original one, or DX, whatever version, you know that there are several characters, and each character has their own storyline. And, with a demo, you'd think that maybe they just throw the first level from Sonic in there or something, but they actually give you a level for every single character, which to me is really cool, because once again, if you've played Sonic Adventure, you know what I'm talking about, but each character plays like entirely different. I mean, Sonic is like your classic 3D Sonic. Well, this was the first real 3D Sonic, so classic nowadays, but then you have like Gamma, where you shoot stuff, Froggy. Big the Cat goes out there fishing for Froggy. Everything's a little bit different. So the fact that you get to play as every single character for just, one of their levels, and they're all random too. It's not like their very first level. And also it goes through the controls and everything. It's just really cool. So once again, for $13, this is kind of a neat piece of history. I don't know if it's something that I can like recommend in the sense of like a game, because as a game, not quite sure, it's not really a game, you know what I mean? It's just a bunch of stuff. But for a $13 piece of like history, I'm actually very surprised to see a not for resale preview disc basically so cheap. I will say the absolute cheapest game in my GameCube collection, coming in at $11. Kind of a weird one as far as story is concerned, because a game like this usually doesn't have a story, but that's Tetris Worlds. Tetris Worlds, though, oh my god, if you've been watching the channel, I'm a huge Tetris fan. Like, when it comes to what puzzle game am I going to play on any video game system, it's going to be Tetris. I will say, this game is, like, a little weird. I mean, they have the regular Tetris modes, which is fine, but they decided to give, like, a story mode and a plot. You can kind of pick this weird little Tetramino guy and give him a hat. I like to play as the cowboy, but it doesn't really matter. They don't do anything. Basically, it's just Tetris, though, and the quote-unquote story mode is you trying to clear lines to save the Tetris blocks from different worlds before, like, a star goes supernova. I know, it's just one of those weird things that they decided to shoehorn in to make it seem like it's more than just a Tetris game. The one thing I will say is like very weird about this game is every time you clear a line, they have this very like creepy soft voice that just kind of says like Tetris double. Tetris double. And I'm not gonna lie, that's like a little bit like disarming. It's kind of strange. I haven't actually gone through the menu. You know, I've already recorded this. I got to thinking about it. I'm wondering if you can't like turn that voice off because it is extremely creepy. But regardless, the thing that I do like about this game is this is the first game that I personally played. Now I don't know if there's some before it because I kind of skipped everything between Super Nintendo and this. That has all these cool different rules. I really like this one game type where you have all of the regular Tetris blocks, except for they're kind of like piecemeal, and you can make different parts fall off and slide into place. There's also another one where you basically have to make like a nuclear reaction, and that one includes little single square pieces, which is really great for like kind of slotting in and fitting to solve the little trials and puzzles that is like a Tetris line. I think this game's really cool, but hey, that's just me. I mean, at $11 though, yeah, all day long. If you don't have a Tetris game for your GameCube or a fun puzzle game for your GameCube, then in my opinion, this is definitely a game worth getting. I'm really surprised that the opposite end of the spectrum, like I can, you know, personally recommend all three of these. You know, I will say it's something to say about the preview disc being like not really a game. I don't know if that's for everybody, but you know, when it came to the three most expensive games, those were just so pricey. And all three of these are not only reasonable, but a reasonably fun time too. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. So there you have it. I was actually a little bit surprised because I tell you what, those aren't bad. You know, and for the prices, oh my god, especially with like these crazy pandemic prices, I would say go ahead and go for it. But hey, that's just my point of view. What do you guys think? Have you guys tried doing this yourselves? Let me know down below. Like I said, the app I'm using is Game Eye. Yeah, I'm not like sponsored or anything. It's what I'm using. It's convenient. But you can really just look up the price on price charting. But you know, what are your cheapest GameCube games, and are they worth your time? That's going to do it for us today, guys. But once again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you haven't, please do. It would be really cool. Leave a comment down below about anything we covered on the channel today. And hey, as always, take it easy. What's going on, guys? So hey, we are continuing with this new kind of series I made up where I'm taking my game collection, breaking it down to a console level, and then kind of finding the three most expensive games and the three cheapest games, and are the three most expensive ones worth the price, and are the three cheapest ones worth anything? That said, today we are going to work on the Super Nintendo, because that's what was requested by you guys. I kind of put up a little poll. If you guys don't know, I try to put up polls often, so, you know, check out the channel during the week and kind of see what's going up there. I try to keep it fun. That said, we're doing Super Nintendo. Today's video is the three most expensive Super Nintendo games I have in my collection. Before we go too far, I will say that I did have to establish some rules for this one. The first set of videos was GameCube, and all my GameCube games were complete, so it was kind of easy. With Super Nintendo, I have a few games that are complete, but the majority of them, for most people, I would think, and myself included, cartridge only. So because of that, I did not include the price of the complete in box ones, because like I have complete in box Final Fantasy II, it's like my favorite game, so I went out of my way to get all that, and that makes that one of the more expensive ones. But that game by itself is only worth like $60, so obviously it's not going to make it on the list. So anyway, with that kind of rule in place, we're going to go through, we're going to talk about my three most expensive games. We're going to go third, second, first, and we're going to determine, are they worth the price? And I'll tell you what, a little bit of a spoiler alert, but probably a surprise to no one. These are like all obviously RPGs. Well, one of them is kind of an RPG. I don't know. Hey, let's just jump into it, and let's start with number 3. So have you like ever played Super Ghouls and Ghosts and came across that annoying red gargoyle enemy and been like, man, this guy needs to be the lead character of his own entire game? Well, guess what? Capcom seemed to think that with Demon's Crest. So Demon's Crest is my third most expensive game, and as of recording this video, it is currently sitting at $174 loose, which is pretty crazy. This is the one that I kind of alluded to as being kind of an RPG. This is definitely a side-scrolling action platformer, but there are a lot of RPG elements that I'm kind of going to go through here, kind of touch upon, but let's just kind of see what this game's all about. The first thing I really want to note with this game is the sprite work is phenomenal. So the game starts off like really kind of holding your feet to the fire. You get to fight this crazy zombified dragon, and it kind of shows you quickly that you want to utilize the fact that the main character can float or kind of fly, hover with his wings, but also shoots fireballs. So you're going to want to jump to kind of miss the ground attacks, but also maneuver yourself to miss the aerial attacks. It's kind of a crazy scene. It's kind of a really wild way to start the game off, especially because right when you think you've beaten the dragon, he comes back for like one more final round. And the thing is, at this point, you could just totally like avoid him and leave, but if you stay and like finish him off once and for all, you actually get like a permanent health extension, which is kind of neat also because once again, they're going to be throwing a bunch of stuff at you and you're going to need these health extensions throughout the game. This is another really good example of how Capcom handled their business back in the day. A lot of people knew that when you bought these games, they came in cardboard boxes with paper instruction manuals, or you maybe rented them, and that kind of stuff went away. You threw it away or whatever. So they had to kind of put in place methods for you to have a tutorial, but before like nowadays where like they really hold your hand. So, you know, straight off the game starts and he automatically walks up and punches a statue like without your command input, which kind of shows you like, hey, there's a way to do that, you know, so without even having to have any of the instruction manuals, you go through and it shows you that, you know, you kind of press buttons and test it out until you figure out how to break the statues. And why would you do that? Well, because there's stuff hidden inside, stuff worth getting, power-ups, currencies, all this stuff will be kind of touched upon as you go, but really it makes the idea of this, like, you know, quote-unquote basic platformer a lot less basic. The first level also gives you a really good scale of kind of what to expect with different platforming later in the game. There's a whole section totally dedicated to upward mobility, which has you sticking to the sides of things or hovering, waiting for elevators to go. So with this kind of stuff, you automatically learn like, okay, I can stick to walls, I can really, you know, hover and fly a lot better. It's just all sorts of stuff that really kind of tie the gameplay together for the rest of the levels. And like I said, I think this first level acts as a fantastic tutorial. But then you kind of get to where the game really opens up and really kind of throws itself into that Capcom formula where you fight your first boss, cool little dialogue between you and the boss, by the way, but then after you beat it, you get your first crest. And the crests kind of act like a Mega Man-esque type power-up. Your whole, like, character changes and you get brand new abilities. So the first one you get is an Earth Crest, has a much more powerful attack, but the attack travels along the ground rather than being like a fireball. But also you do lose the ability to fly, so risk reward kind of thing. But once again, you're going to be getting crests all throughout this game, and that's you know, really what's going to lead you through the different trials and missions. You know, different abilities will open up different areas to unlock, etc., etc. But after you get the first crest, then you really get to see some cool stuff with this game. And the thing I'm really talking about here is obviously what you're seeing, this Mode 7 overworld. I love the overworld. I love how they use the Mode 7 where you can fly around. And it's cool because they don't point anything out. You just see geography on the ground and you get curious, so you press the dive button to go inside. And this is where more of the RPG elements come in. And this is why I kind of say that this, to me, still is an RPG. But they have different shops, different mini games, different things where you can buy potions, spells, what have you, with all the currency you collect throughout the levels. But also this flying around acts like the hub world that gets you into the next level, etc., etc. It's a cool game. You know, it's a really great game. And the only downside I will say is it doesn't have a save feature. It uses a password feature, which isn't bad. But the problem with passwords in a game like this is it does not keep track of your currencies or your lives. So that's one thing to kind of keep your mind on when you're playing a game like this. But still, it is nice to be able to kind of get your progress back with a password. I just wish that I'd rather it have a save battery personally. But anyway, you know, the whole shebang here is it worth the price? And this is $174. That's not cheap, obviously, for a game like this. I will say that if it was not for the Nintendo Switch Online, I would say that this game is worth the price, because before that, there was literally no other way to play this. But they did put this game on the Nintendo Switch Online, so if you have the online service, it's actually free for you to play, and I highly recommend it. So for the collection, I would say it just depends on how much you're trying to actually own the physical cartridge. But for playing it, I cannot recommend paying the 174, but I do recommend, if you have a Switch, paying the $20 a year, hopping on the Super Nintendo online games and checking this game out. It is totally worth your time. Okay, so the second most expensive game in my collection, loose of course, coming in at number 2 at $225, is Chrono Trigger. Oh my god, so this is gonna be rough for me. Chrono Trigger is hands down one of the best games I've ever played in my life, and it is top tier Super Nintendo. I am telling you right now. I've said it many times on my channel. My favorite RPG ever is Final Fantasy II, but there's a lot of ones that come in like the second place, and this is one of them that may be my number 2. Only it wouldn't be, the only reason it's not number 1 is like I said, Final Fantasy II is my first RPG, and I have a lot of history with that game. But Chrono Trigger is amazing. So the thing that's really cool about this game is like every battle is in real time. So it's kind of weird. It reminds me of like a hybrid between what they were doing with the Mana series and what other RPGs were doing at the time. So, back in the day, you'd have your random encounters where you walk around an overworld, boom, turn-based combat, ATB gauge, what have you. Or, you had Secret of Mana, which was kind of more like a Zelda game, which was more of an action RPG. Everything was real time. The enemies were on the screen. And that's what this kind of is. So you're walking around areas and you see enemies acting in their own environment, doing whatever. And then it all of a sudden starts the battle. Your characters are in certain positions, and you fight real time, but it's turn based with a ATB gauge, and there's all sorts of stuff you can do. Oh my god, and we're gonna go into that. But I always liked how it felt like you were actually part of the world, but you still got the fun and the tacticality of a turn based RPG. Now, the actual combat is amazing. I mean, it is so good. Oh my god. So, you have the, just like any game, you have the ability to attack or use magic or, skills or whatever. But a cool thing with this game is there are several characters, and the further in the game you get, you can switch them out, of course. But the cool thing is these characters learn like combo moves, and you can have certain combo moves that use 2 characters, certain combo moves that use 3 characters, and basically as you use these moves, they could be like AoE, they could be AoE heals. It's just there's so much. It's so complex for the time. I mean, like back then, you did not get stuff like this. Like this stuff was reserved for like when things started getting really cool on like the PS1. But the fact that Chrono Trigger did this blew everyone's mind, and that's why like I said, the $225 price tag is steep, but this game has always been expensive. I mean, when I got it, it was $100, and that was years ago. I mean, $100 game years ago like did not exist, especially on the Super Nintendo. So it's this, it just really is a standout title, and something that, I mean, everyone should play. This game is so good. But not only the combat, the plot itself is like awesome. So at this point in the game where I'm at, I'm not going to really try to spoil anything, because like I said, everyone should check this game out. But you can actually, throughout the game, you're going through time. That's like a big thing. And all the different characters come from different parts of time. But at this point in the game where I'm at, you can actually go back and visit all of those areas, which is really neat, because you get to go way off in the future or way into the past. All the characters have weird, different little side stories. There's certain characters you can completely miss if you don't do things right. There's certain weapons you can completely miss if you don't do certain side quests. It's amazing, but the cool thing is pretty early off in the game, you can actually go straight to the final boss and try to beat it, which is like amazing to me, because usually you can't do that in a game like this. So for speedrunners, it's like absolutely crazy. But once again, this game is really cool. All of the artwork was done by the same guy who did like all the Dragon Ball Z stuff, Dragon Ball Z stuff. So, it looks really good. It's just a top-notch game. But now we're on to the main deal, right? Like, is this game worth 225 bucks? So before I go into that, I will say that there is a DS version of the game that is very good, and some of the handheld ports of certain games are bad. This one is not. The DS version is super good. If you have a DS, you don't mind playing it in your hands, I recommend getting that. But currently, the only other way to get this game is on a PlayStation Collection and for PS1, and it is a horrible port, a lot of lag. It's not worth your time at all. So to that end, since there is no other way to really play this on your TV in a very, good fashion, I would have to say, yeah, it's worth it. I mean, $225 is steep, and I'll be the first one to say that, God, that's a lot of money for a game. But this is a masterpiece. I mean, this is like the Mona Lisa of the Super Nintendo. This game is worth every bit of it. If you get like a nice clone console or something and could spend more money on games, I'd definitely recommend getting this. Or, of course, you can go the more dubious route of emulation. But regardless, this is a game you absolutely have to play. And for the number one most expensive loose game in my collection at $365 is Earthbound. And you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and start off by just spoiler alert, it is not worth $365. It's actually weird. This game is a cult classic. It's a good game. All right. Let me say that. It's a good game. It's really weird. It's quirky. It's neat. It is not worth $365 for many reasons. First off, the sheer amount of ways you can play it. I mean, you can play this game, if you have a Wii U, you can download it from the eShop for like nothing. If you have a SNES Classic, like the mini console, it's on there. At $365, it's no Chrono Trigger. Like, it's cool, but it's no Chrono Trigger. It's a cool game. I mean, it's a game worth checking out. It's very quirky, very weird, like I said. But the thing is there's a false conception that this game is rare, and it's not. The thing is the game was really poorly received at first, so no one bought it, and that was kind of the end of it. But the cartridge itself is not that rare, not like you'd think. I mean, I have seen at least 5 or 6 of them come through my local game store. And it's like, when you're talking rare games, you think like you maybe see one ever, but only like 5 or 6 in like a 3-year span. To me, that's uncommon, very uncommon, but not rare, and definitely not $365 rare. That said, the quirkiness of the game is cool. So you play as the main character, canonically named Ness, I guess, kind of. And you basically are trying to go through all these different towns, do a bunch of weird stuff, see what happened with this meteor crashing. I mean, there's a lot to it. It's weird and wonky. But the thing that's neat about this game is everything is really practical. Like, all the weapons are like a baseball bat, a yo-yo, what have you. All of the food items and health items are like your favorite dish, which you can actually fill out in the beginning, or candy. The thing that's weird about this game, though, is like, with save for one character, everyone is like a psychic, has like psychic powers. So it's like everything's kind of realistic except for the psychic powers. Then later in the game, the weird aliens and monsters you're fighting. But I mean, in the beginning, you're literally fighting stuff like dog, snake. I mean, it's just a kid going out on an adventure and figuring out what's going on. And like I said, I'm not going to spoil anything. This game goes like off the rails and goes really crazy. And, it is a cult classic for a reason. And I will say, because of that, that's probably what added a lot to its, perceived value. But, it's a cool game. It's definitely worth checking out. There's just so many better ways, cheaper ways to play it. And, I'm kind of holding out hope that one day they actually put this on the Switch as well, because I mean, there's no reason not to. It's a Nintendo game. Like, I get it. We're not going to get the Final Fantasies or Chrono Trigger on the online service because those are, Square Enix games. But, a game like this really has, no reason not to be on the online service. But anyway, like I said, those are my 3 most expensive games. Those are all loose for the sake of this video. So, let me know down below if you have any of these or what you think about them. So those are my 3 most expensive Super Nintendo games. It did turn out that even with my complete in box ones, the only one that would have made the list was Final Fantasy II. Like I said, I think I have like 3 complete in box Super Nintendo games. But what do you guys think? Those are some pretty quality games. I do think that Earthbound is better played elsewhere. I do think Chrono Trigger personally is best on the Super Nintendo. I know the DS version's really great and definitely more reasonable, but you know, I just like playing on the Super Nintendo myself. That's a game that I would not mind getting like that 2D HD treatment that Square's kind of doing here and there. But hey, let me know what you guys think down below. You know, what are your most expensive Super Nintendo games? Do you have any of the ones on my list? And do you think the ones on my list are worth the price they're asking for? I would be really interested to know what you guys think. Hey, that's gonna do it for us today, guys. Thanks once again for sticking around watching my goofy ass make videos. You know, thanks for subscribing. If you haven't, please do. It'd be really cool. It'd be super duper cool. But hey, as always, my friends, take it easy. Hey, what's going on, guys? So if you haven't been around recently, I have been taking my game collection, splitting it up into its different various consoles, and I've been taking the 3 most expensive and the 3 least expensive games, and I'm saying, are the most expensive ones worth it? Are the least expensive ones worth anything? And last week, we started doing the Super Nintendo, and we did the 3 most expensive, and I think as a surprise to nobody, they were all RPGs. But now we're going to be doing the 3 least expensive, and are they worth it? And I'm going to preface this one. Growing up, all of my Super Nintendo was my console. That was the one that I got. That was mine. That's what I grew up with. And most of my games, I will say, came from yard sales or flea markets. So because of that, I definitely have some real stinkers. But I also have really fond memories of these games, which is like kind of ridiculous because you look at some of these games and like objectively, they're horrible. I mean, like they're in no way good. But when this is one of the few times where I actually recorded the gameplay before I'm recording this part, and so I know what the 3 games are, and I will say that out of the 3, first off, the cheapest one is BS. The cheapest one is a banger, and we're gonna get to that. But this was a tough video for me. Regardless, this was a very tough video for me to say, are they worth anything? Because, like, to me they are, but maybe they're not. So let's take a look at these games. Let's see the 3 cheapest Super Nintendo games in my game collection, and are they worth anything? So coming in at number 3 with a price tag of $9 is a video game based on a movie called Warlock. The movie came out in 1989, same year as me, but the game itself came out a little bit later and was made by LJN. Now, if you know anything about, well, games of this era, LJN kind of did all of the movie tie-in games, and LJN is also pretty synonymous for bad games. So me as a kid, however, I kind of liked this game. Well, rather, I didn't really have much of a choice. It's one of the few games I had, but I thought it was good, and by good, I mean extremely hard. I also did not know anything about this game or what the plot was or what was going on, basically because it was based on a horror movie, which I was too young to watch, and I got this game secondhand from probably a flea market or a yard sale, so I did not have a manual, I didn't have any kind of, box with the plot on the back. I did not know what was going on. The only thing I knew about this game is you played a long-haired guy in a trench coat with an orb, that you can use that orb to kill butterflies and birds, and you can also blast dogs, up until you walk up to this bridge, where the mean old man blows up the bridge, and I guess you start the game proper. I also do want to quickly bring up that when you get a game over in this game, you're greeted by, like, the most terrifying face ever, and this probably has, like, to do with, like, some of my nightmares as a kid, because, like, Jesus Christ, this needs to never be on a video game. Now that I'm an adult, I can only assume that, like, a lot of this stuff kind of loosely happened in the movie, like, just enough to kind of get the plot for the game going. But one thing I always thought was weird was, like, immediately the second level, you're in this huge library, and they show, like, a librarian turning into a zombie, and then they keep showing librarians turning into zombies. And as a kid, I was always like, how many friggin', like, librarians does this place have? Like, you know, what is the support staff for this, like, massive, well, like, 5-story library? And then, of course, at the end, you have the wizard guy who's extremely unfair. Like, his pattern doesn't even make sense. Like, his lightning goes all the way across the screen, and he goes back and forth. You don't have time to even hit him. I don't know, like I said, as a kid, this game was incredibly hard, and, like, as an adult trying to record this gameplay footage, it, like, literally has not gotten any easier. I can say what I'm about to show you is like literally as far as I got as a kid, and then like also as far as I got here as an adult. Granted, like now that I'm an adult, I could look up passwords and kind of see what kind of stuff's going on. But you know, I don't know. Maybe I don't care enough to do that. Um, I will say this like third level or second level. I don't know. The intro kind of. I don't know if that counts as a level or not. But I will say that this part, the music goes like extremely, extremely hard. Like it has no business being this awesome. Here, check this out. And this is typically when I stopped playing the game. You like climb into this cave where there's dragons that shoot fireballs and like mud monsters that just keep popping out, and you get hurt by drops of water from the ceiling, and there's giant spiders. And even if you get to the bottom and find the crystal, like I don't know how to leave this place at all. I don't know. You know, I started off like when I saw this list, I was like, man, these are all the games I had when I was a kid. You know, like they can't be that bad. But like now that I'm replaying this, I have like instantly remembered that this game is not good. Like not good at all. So I guess number one, Warlock, is it worth it? I'm gonna say no. Like I would not spend $9 on this game. I really don't recommend playing it. It's just extremely hard. Just way too hard. Now, this next one's kind of weird, right? Like, is it a game? I don't know. Regardless, number two, clocking in at $5, is Mario Paint. Now, this is kind of weird for a couple reasons for the list. Like, one, I don't quite know if you could classify this as a game. I mean, there is a game aspect to it. And two, according to price charting, it is $5 loose. However, you do have to have the mouse to even play it, and I'm pretty sure this $5 price tag does not include the mouse, so I don't know, whatever. This is my video, and I'm too lazy, and I've already recorded the gameplay before I started actually thinking about it. But regardless, I mean, the title screen is really cool. A lot of people don't know this, but in the title screen, you can actually click all the letters, and they do different stuff, which is what you're watching right now. But Mario Paint is not as much a game as like a learning tool, and I'll tell you what, it's actually really cool, and like, as a kid, I really wanted this game. Like, this is one that I did not get secondhand. This is one that I distinctly remember getting for Christmas. And, like, this is a game that I really was hyped up about. And to me, all the hype was there. Of course, like, the main draw of Mario Paint is it's basically like Paint for your, like, you know, Windows 95 computer. You can paint stuff. You can use different size brushes and spray paints and stamps. You can also do the easy option of like having like a pre-done coloring book type thing and then using like the paint bucket to auto-fill the colors and do whatever you want. But neither of these reasons were the reason I wanted this game at all. I'll tell you that right now. I wanted this game like 100% for the music maker. So, for those of you who don't know, like, I've played music my whole life. I'm really big into music. I play 9 instruments. I do a lot of stuff musically, and this game, like, really helped bud that curiosity in young Wolf. The cool thing is, with the music creator, it's kind of like very deep, even though it's very simplistic. But you can go through, and with the set sound effects, you can put them on the staff and get your different, you know, obviously octaves of notes. You can change the speed. You know, there isn't any quality of life here, though. Like, there is no copy and paste or whatever. You literally have to do like everything over and over again. But it's cool, and they also have like 3 built-in songs, which is also neat because you can take those and add to them or adjust them like as like a good starting point. But once again, like, this is something I always really enjoyed with Mario Paint, and it's like the main reason I wanted it. I remember playing it at a friend's house, and I was instantly like, okay, I want this for Christmas, and I asked for it, and then that's why I even own it. But besides the music, besides the painting, and they even have like an animation feature, which if I don't paint, then I'm definitely not animating, so I've never even messed with that. There is an actual game to this, and I'll tell you what, in recording this gameplay, I actually Came across something funny. So there's a little game. It's like noted by the coffee break sign, but you are a little hand with a fly swatter and you swat bugs, and then at the end there's a big crazy robot bug. As a kid, I never was able to beat the robot bug, right? So I went through and I beat all the stuff, and I'd always get to the very end and then die. And as I'm recording this, I'm like, oh my god, I think I'm gonna beat it. And then I did. Like, I actually beat it for the first time in my life. I beat the robot bug, and I was like, oh my god, I beat it. Like, that's amazing. And then there's a second level. I don't know. I don't know why I thought there would only be one level, but there's like a second level, and to be honest, like, I was kind of riding the high of beating this for the first time in my entire life. So I just kind of ended it there. I was like, hey, this was cool, but I'm done. Regardless, like I said, this one kind of broke the rules in many ways on this list because I didn't take into account the mouse, etc., etc. But if you have the mouse and you have $5, I will say that Mario Paint, if nothing else for the music creator, is absolutely worth it. Okay, so real talk. I am not a big sports person. I am like 5'4". When I was in school, I like skateboarded and stuff like that. The one sport I did play, I guess, in high school is I played tennis, which is definitely like a one-player kind of situation. Two if you're doing doubles. But, I'm not a sports guy, and because of that, I don't like sports games. In fact, there are 3 sports games in my entire life that I liked, and one would be Windjammers. That game is amazing. One is Neo Turf Masters. Like, that game has the best music, and it's just really, really good. And I am upset because the number one cheapest game in my collection at $3 is College Slam, and this is my all-time favorite sports game, just straight up ever. $3 is just absolutely insulting. This game is the best, like the best. And I'm not gonna say like the base game is great because I don't think I've ever actually played the base game ever. I don't even know what drove me to do this. Like, I got this game definitely secondhand. Like, this is something I got from a flea market. Maybe my parents brought it home. Like, this is not a game I would have ever chose. Not a game that I picked out. I don't even know how I got in my collection, but I've had it like since the dawn of my video game life. And I will tell you right now, I don't know what drove me to do this, but the first thing I did when I got this game is I went through the options. I don't know why. I've never done that before. Went to the options. I saw this weird thing for power-ups and juice mode and all this hot spots. I didn't know what any of it was, but I just cranked them all up. I just maxed it all out. I don't know, whatever. And oh my god, this game is the best. It's just, it's so damn good. So with all those power-ups on, you get like these little pads on the ground. If you're standing on the pad that has a number on it, if you make a shot or a slam dunk from that pad, that's how many points you get. So if you're standing on an 8 and you jump up and do a little shot there, boom, 8 points, automatically, game-changing kind of scenario. You hold the shoulder buttons to basically run like at the speed of light, but no, all of this is nothing. All this is totally secondary to the power-ups. You see these blue, like Advil-looking pills with letters on them? They all do stuff. And, the ones that really stood out to me always were the W, which turns you into a tornado, which makes you unstoppable. The I, which for some reason turns your partner invisible, not you. I never really got that, but whatever. The B, which acts like a giant just earthquake. Boom, everyone hits the ground. The Z, when you hit the Z, a lightning bolt blows up your goal. So, like, for a small amount of time, the other team cannot score a point at all. That being said, like, the AI and everything is still in there, and the programming's still in there, so you can technically get fouled for goaltending, which, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know anything about basketball, so in my mind, like, when I heard goaltending the first time, I was like, I'm trying to stop them from getting points. What's the deal? But apparently that's, like, actually a big deal. Whatever, sorry. But no. All that is great. All of that is nothing. The ultimate power-up, the best power-up in the game is the letter D, and that is for Mega Dunk. Mega Dunk lets you fly across the court. It does not matter what distance. You can literally pass the ball to yourself. They just scored a point, so you're on your side, and just jump across the whole entire court and slam dunk every single time. You can stand on like one of those 8-point deals I was talking about and just go flying, just off screen, 1,000 camera shots, boom, super slam. It is the best. It is the absolute best. Like, this is the way sports games should be. Like, just stupid, ignorant fun. Like, this, to me, is one of the best games. I mean, it's like literally one of the best games on my Super Nintendo. So when I saw it was at the very bottom, like obviously I was like disheartened. I was like, no, no. But then I started thinking about it. And if you have been watching, like I said, I just started the series, but so far I've only done, the Super Nintendo, and like the original one I did was the GameCube. And one of the rules I kind of made on the cheap ones on the GameCubes, I wouldn't include sports titles that were like numbered, like Madden 11, Madden 12. And like the thing is, like I don't actually have any of those. So it's kind of a stupid rule. I just wanted to be clear for like you guys. But in my mind, this game is like not like that. Like College Slam is not it's not a Madden or an NBA 2K blah. This is like its own like thing, and it's all about the power ups. I'm telling you, and I don't know. This game is the jams. As far as is it worth it? Absolutely. Is it worth $3? Absolutely. This game is worth every bit of $3. I would honestly pay like a substantial amount of money for this game. It is so stupid good. I highly, 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 highly recommend it. So, say what you will about Warlock. I mean, okay, that game is bad, but come on, I played it a lot. Mario Paint, is it even a game? I mean, I don't know. It's good though. It's definitely good, definitely creative. But I'm sorry, College Slam is the jams. That game is amazing. It is in no way indicative of the price, the quality of game that is. Like I said, I like 3 sports games pretty much only, and that is one of them, if not maybe the best one of them. Yeah, that's wrong. $3. If any of you guys are collecting for Super Nintendo and need a fun, cheap game, buy College Slam. Buy it right now. Buy 5 copies of it, because guess what? They're $3. Who cares? I mean, you're spending $15 and you get 5 copies of the greatest game ever made in the sports dominion of games. Hey, that's just me though. What do you guys think about these games? Do you own any of these games? Do you agree with how I feel about any of these games? Or do you think maybe they're worth a little bit more, or at least worth your time? Let me know in the comments down below. That's going to do it for us today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you haven't, please do. It'd be amazing. I love to hear from you guys, so throw a comment down below. Even if it's not about this video, just say, hey, why not? Give a thumbs up, thumbs down if you feel any kind of way, and as always, take it easy. Hey, what's going on, guys? If you've been watching my channel recently, you know that I've been doing this fun series where I've taken separate parts of my game collection and I've kind of gone through and discovered what the 3 most expensive games are and then the 3 cheapest games, and kind of saying, are they worth the money or are they worth anything at all, respectively. That said, I'm jumping back on that train. I've already had these ones recorded for a little while, but I didn't have, all the time to put them together. So today we're going to be talking about the Sega Genesis, and specifically we're going to be talking about my 3 most expensive Sega Genesis games, and are they worth it? So my 3rd most expensive game, coming in at $100 for the Sega Genesis, is a game called Blades of Vengeance. Now, this game's kind of crazy. I've actually had it on my shelf for literal years. I remember exactly where I got it. I had this crazy deal with a friend of mine back in Texas. We were at a pawn store, and they had a huge box of Sega games. We bought the box together, just a big bulk buy, which basically meant that every single game was $3 each by the time we were done. And at the time, we didn't really know prices or anything, so we just took turns taking them. I mean, we knew a couple heavy hitters in there, and we made sure that those were fair, but everything else in the box, we just kind of split between us. You get one, I get one, you get one, I get one, and that's how we handled basically the whole transaction. And Blades of Vengeance made its way in my collection. It looked extremely generic, and well, to be honest, I'd never played it until now. And boy, was that a mistake. This game is friggin' awesome. Oh my god. So, first off, there's like 3 different characters. You get like the wizard, the Amazon, and the kind of berserker guy. But wow, it's 1 or 2 players, and it is really cool. As I played through this, there's like a ton of secret paths. It's not too easy, but it's not too hard either. I will say the music is bang on awesome, super cool. I like the fact that you have items, I always like games where you have items and basically you can scroll through them and stuff, in the sense of a beat 'em up kind of side scroller, because usually you don't get that in a game like this. But oh man, just like recording this footage, I was really enjoying myself. When you're playing as the wizard, like I went through this whole bit where I found the secret area and got like a whole power up and made my shot bigger. It is, one of those kind of punishing games where, like, when you die, you lose all of your power-ups, so that does kind of stink. But, like, on the whole, this game is super, super damn cool. So, admittedly, most of my playtime was as the wizard, but I wanted to test out the other two characters too, so the kind of, like, Amazon she-warrior lady, like, she has really crazy range, can jump a little bit better, but obviously the wizard's great, right, because he can shoot, but this character was like a really great, I guess, probably like middle of the road character, probably had the medium damage, but like had the better mobility and agility. And then of course, like, the last character I did play as was like the, I guess, like barbarian or berserker, and the range was a little bit lacking, but the damage was massive. Once again, like, this game to me is really borderline a hidden gem, because for me in my own collection it was hidden in plain sight. But I don't know, this is kind of a weird one. Any of you guys ever play this? Because, like, I'd like to know. I didn't get too far because I wanted to just record the footage and kind of get to the next game on this list, but I definitely think this is something I'm personally going to go back to. Now, the next game on my list I'm very familiar with, and that is coming in at $115, Joe and Mac for the Sega Genesis. Now, it's kind of weird. I am familiar with this game, like, for sure, but I am familiar with the Super Nintendo version. That's the one that I played growing up, and I really liked that game. It's cool, co-op. You can, it's on the Nintendo Switch, not eShop, but the Nintendo thingy majigger. If you want to play it there, it's great. I highly recommend it. That said, after playing this version, and hear me out, I think this is the better version. I think this is the better version of the game, and let me explain why. Gameplay-wise, it is identical. It is, like, at least so far. I only recorded the first few levels, but gameplay-wise, it is identical to the Super Nintendo version. But I don't know why this game seems easier. And I'm not saying, like, that's, some people might see that as a bad thing, but, like, this game seems easier. Like, the enemies seem to kind of die better. I remember dying a lot more on the Super Nintendo version, let's put it that way. And I'm not going to even chalk it up to me being older, because I played the Super Nintendo version on the Switch recently. But, so I don't know why, but this game, it seems like the enemies kind of get theirs a little bit quicker, and to me, that is a great thing, because this game is, like, really hectic. There's enemies all over the screen all the time, and I will say that I actually enjoy the fact that you can kind of get through and, like, have a little bit of a chance, because it makes it more fun. When I'm playing a game like this, I'm trying to have a good time. I'm not trying to get frustrated, not trying to beat my head against the wall. I want to, like, go through and, like, I'm not saying, like, let's go, like, Doom and just massacre everything, but I want to go through and, like, not feel really pissed off. I don't know, maybe I'm the only one who feels that way. But that said, I mean, like, this game generally seems to play a little bit easier. One thing I did notice with this game, though, something that I need to go back to the Super Nintendo version, because if so, that I've been missing an integral part of Joe and Mac for my whole life. I didn't realize that you can hold down the attack button and, like, charge up your attack. That to me was awesome. Like I said, I need to go back to the Super Nintendo version to see if I was just an idiot as a kid. But, like, that to me was also, like, a big game changer. If for some reason that is a Sega only thing, then this game is, like, hands down on top. But in general, I think it's kind of better anyway. But regardless, Joe and Mac is a, like I say, it's a 2D platformer beat 'em up, kind of like the last game, Blades of Vengeance. Except for this one's different. You have a lot of, like, caveman themed, like, powers you get. Like, you get, like, arrowheads or torches, or you can throw, hatchets, or you can get, like, the wheel, like the original, like the wheel. But regardless, it's really fun. It's really cool, and I love, like, how the first boss is, like, this huge T-Rex. It, has a pretty simple pattern, and then, like, as you go, it's like the bosses are all, dinosaurs. Even though, like, you're fighting cavemen who are after you because they stole your cave women, like, you end up fighting, like, these huge dinosaurs at the end of the levels. And I don't know, man, this game has always been just really cool. And I will say it's a pretty steep price. Like, that first game is like a hidden gem. I think that one should be gotten all day long. This one, kind of steep for what it is, especially because you can play it on the Switch for free if you have the online service. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think below, because I'm kind of on the fence with this one as far as, is it worth the price? Okay, this game is a yes. Like, absolutely a yes. Oh my god, I love this game. It's so absurd. It's so wrong. It is so wrong. Okay, regardless, my number one expensive Sega Genesis game, coming in at $147, is Michael Jackson's Moonwalker. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Michael Jackson's The Moonwalker. Oh my God, we just gotta talk about this. We gotta talk about this game. It is painfully clear that this game was designed and made by Michael Jackson. Definitely, he had his say in it. You can tell, but also made entirely before the controversies of the 90s that was Michael Jackson. My God, this game is phenomenal. All right, let's talk about, before we get into what is up, let's talk about the game. The game itself is actually quite fun. You shoot pocket sand. Everyone loves the pocket sand. You can spin around and dance your enemies to death. You can actually do like this charge up dance that kicks some of your life and have all of the enemies dance with you and then explode. That's interesting. The music obviously is just bangers, just banger tracks. I mean, I will say this, right? As much of the bad that is Michael Jackson, that man could make some music, right? Obviously, king of pop. And all of that music is here for sure. I will say the one disappointing thing is there is totally a zombie level and they don't play Thriller. I'll never understand that. But regardless, the rest of the music is obviously fantastic. But the big thing is, like, what is this game? You are Michael Jackson. Your job is to go around, I shit you not, saving children. You must find the children and save them from this mafia guy, and then like the level culminates with you like beating up a bunch of like bad dudes, going through like these like, you know, cloaked up guys. You know, they all work for Mr. Big. Beat them up because they're stealing the children. Also, once you've stolen all the children, Michael Jackson's like pet monkey Bubbles jumps on your shoulder and directs you where the final encounter will be. I have a counter proposal of the plot of this game. This is the plot of the game according to the box. This is not the plot of the game according to reality. Look at what you have to do to get some of these kids, right? Some of them are just out there. Yeah, I get you. Some of them are hiding in closets. Some of them are hiding in the trunks of a car behind a window. They're hiding. Here's the deal. Michael Jackson isn't saving the children. The children are hiding from Michael Jackson, rightfully so. And the whole deal is, these aren't bad guys trying to stop old MJ. These are the FBI. They're out here trying to put a stop to Michael Jackson's kidnapping reign of terror, taking these poor children to Neverland. That's the real plot. And you know, you can say what you want. You can say whatever you want. That is the plot. Michael Jackson is trying to take these damn kids, and the cops are trying to stop them, and they're too busy getting blown the fuck up by Michael Jackson's magical dancing prowess. And you know what? That's what's going on. But regardless, the game is good. The game is good. $150? Fuck it. Yeah, buy this game. Get this one. It's a good one. You should play it. Everyone should play it. It's insane. And in between levels, you get like this crazy like Michael Jackson who's all like, and yeah, you just can't put a price on that. You cannot put a value on greatness. This game is greatness. 10 out of 10. Would recommend everyone play this game again. So personally, I'm gonna say that, you know, I think these are pretty worth it. I only say that mainly because, especially compared to my other videos on the same subject, those games are relatively cheap. I mean, yeah, they're still expensive. Like, you know, anything that high is still pretty rough, but we're not talking $300-400, you know, and they were pretty fun. I mean, those were games I could definitely see myself continuing on and playing. But hey, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below, because I'm very interested to see if you think those games are worth it. And also let me know down below, what's your most expensive Sega game? Because I'm sure my Sega collection is very small, so I'm sure there's some crazy stuff out there that maybe I don't even know about. I'm really looking forward to hearing from you guys on it. So hey, that's going to do it for us today, guys. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you haven't, please do. It'd be awesome. Leave a thumbs up, thumbs down, feel any kind of way. And as always, take it easy. Well, so my Sega Genesis collection is quite small. If you watched my last video on this whole price series, I showed my top 3 most expensive Sega Genesis games, and they were all generally reasonable. And I mean, like, in the realm of, like, some of the games I've shown in previous videos have been like $300 and $400. You know, my most expensive one was like $150, which is a lot for a game, but I mean, regardless. My collection is quite small, so it kind of got me thinking. Before I looked up the prices for the 3 cheapest games in my Sega collection, I was like, you know what? I mean, my Sega collection's weird. My Sega collection comes mostly from one transaction at a pawn store. I kind of touched upon that in the last video. I went to a pawn store and we got a big box of games, and me and a friend doled them out back and forth. But then I got to my 3 cheapest games on the Sega Genesis, and, you know, as per the usual of this series, I'm going to talk about, are they worth anything? And, one of them's kind of a cop-out, we'll get to that, but two of them are horrible. Oh, Konami, you beautiful, beautiful bastards. Coming in at $15 is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters. Yes, the 1993 Genesis version, and, oh man, you guys super damn dropped the ball on this one. I'm not gonna lie, like, I have not played this game until now, and I was totally hopeful. I was like, oh, alright, fighting game, weird fighting game. I love the Turtles, I mean, who doesn't? It kind of, like, instantly reminded me of the Power Ranger fighting game on Super Nintendo, like the one with the Zords and all that, so I was pretty hyped up. You know, I'm thinking Tournament Fighters based on a 90s property, you know, my expectations are actually set pretty high. But after playing this, oh my god, like, this isn't worth damn nothing. This is not worth $15. This isn't even worth like $1. I don't know. I mean, just check out some of these super sick moves. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like, obviously I suck a little bit, which probably isn't helping. But, like, I don't know, some of these character choices are wild, right? Like, April, like, I don't remember April being some kind of, like, martial artist boxer, but hey, you know, I didn't watch every episode of the cartoon as a kid, so, like, maybe I missed that crucial episode where she, you know, joined the Shotokan and became, like, the master. But I'll tell you what, this isn't, like, the only thing. Like, I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure the freaking AI, like, cheats, man, because, like, I even put on the lowest difficulty at one point, and these guys just stomp me all over town. I mean, one thing that really didn't help, I'll be the first to admit this, is playing fighting games on a Genesis just doesn't sit well with me. The controller was not made for fighting games. I know there's the 6-button pad, but, like, the D-pad kind of blows. It just doesn't feel right. And, you know, I don't know, that and the game itself, this game isn't that great. So it has kind of both things going against it. You have a game that doesn't play well, isn't very good, combined with a controller that doesn't play well, isn't very good. And once again, like, I know it's only $15, and that's complete, by the way, but, like, it's, man, not even close. This game, you know, Konami has done way better in this time period, and, like, this was, like, something that I think slipped through the cracks, but, you know, hey, I'll let you guys be the judge. I personally think this game is hot trash, though. Okay, this game doesn't really count, but, you know, I have to do it because I'm doing all the prices. Coming in at $14 is Sonic 2 on the Sega Genesis. Now, I'll go ahead and you can skip to the next game if you want, or whatever. This is worth $14. Come on. It's Sonic 2. Now, I do believe that this game is as cheap as it is, and that's complete, by the way. All these games are going to be complete. But I believe this is as cheap as it is because this came with every single Sega console, which was arguably Sega's, like, big plan, right? So, you know, when the world of Super Nintendo at first was just launching console only, Sega was like, hey, we really need to package something to really kill Nintendo. So they packaged in Sonic 2, which was great because, like, Sonic 1 is good, but Sonic 2 just improves on everything. I mean, you know, hell, the spin dash did not exist till Sonic 2. This game holds many fond memories for me. Obviously, all the special stages being this, you know, the crazy, like, 3D, not isometric, but, you know, like, pseudo 3D special stages, the Chaos Emeralds, the fact that you can get a secret ending by getting all the Chaos Emeralds. The gameplay's tight. The music's perfect. I mean, I could literally go on and on and on and on about why Sonic 2 is super worth your money. But, I mean, come on. Like, if you have not played Sonic 2 by now, I mean, something's wrong, right? I mean, there's so many ways to play it. It's not even just, you know, like, have I not played it because I haven't gone out of my way? Hell, it's on like every console generation since the Sega has had some form of like Sonic Mega Collection something something, and Sonic 2's on it. I mean, it was on the Xbox Live Arcade, it's on phones, it's on everything. If you haven't played Sonic 2, I mean, something's obviously wrong with you and you need to jump into it, but as far as for the sake of this video, is Sonic 2 worth $14? Yes, of course come on, of course it is. This game is friggin' dope. I mean, like, it's just so good. It's super duper good, and like I said earlier, I understand why it's technically only gonna be 14 bucks, but I mean, you know, yeah, this is totally worth it. You know, if you disagree with me, I guess throw that in the comments down below, but like, come on, it's Sonic 2. This game's freaking awesome. Coming in at $13 complete is this piece of shit. Tasmania. This game, holy god in heaven, this game sucks the dick. This game sucks ass. Oh, gee, I feel like AVGN. I'm telling you right now, this game is freaking terrible. This is the first time I've played it. Let's just jump into this stupid ass game. First off, let's tune in your earballs to this crazy ass, like, shit music. Oh, wow, it sounds like someone just took the, like, Sega sound chip and just threw it down the stairs. Like, hey, here's, like, every sound effect we have. Let's make it very random and suck, and, like, no composition. It's just like, hey, this is what you're gonna get. It's a bunch of fucking sound piled together with, like, no rhyme or reason. And, hey, welcome to Tasmania. Hope your ears are ready to bleed. The fucking turtle says ARF. What the fuck? Hey, we're gonna go unfiltered here. Here's my first attempt at playing this game. Just watch. I love how every single time you land from a jump, there's some like trumpet. You go, yeah, this game, God. Who thought this was a good idea? Because they're a fucking asshole. Oh yeah, also, this game punishes you for playing it. That's right. Obviously there's a button to make you spin like the Tasmanian Devil, and you go like at breakneck speeds. But what they don't tell you is this game is like a pretty tight platformer. So going fast is obviously like not what you're trying to do here. So, you know, to attempt to have fun is to basically lose the game. Like, what's with these long quicksand sequences? Like, there's these enemies that have a flat head that you can kind of jump on. But, I mean, what's the point of this? Okay, you have this whole level of, like, platforming and, like, weird geysers and stuff, only to have, like, a, 90-foot-long sand pit that you just have to trudge your way through. Like, yeah, that's real fun. This is exactly what I want to do in a game, you know, just trudge through quicksand, because, you know, fuck Tasmanian Devils. That's what I think of when I think of Taz. Not like him going crazy and like destroying everything. No, walking slowly through quicksand and while being licked by square rock monsters. Also, the platforming sucks. Like I said a second ago, it's like really tight platforming, but it sucks. And like the detection of the platforms isn't good, so you fall all the damn time. So, you know, have fun. Try to figure out the path you're supposed to take. That'll work. Oh, and yeah, you know, every time you fall, you basically have to run all the way back to the from the beginning, essentially, back to where you were, just to fall in the same spot again. I guess you should get speed by spinning up as the tornado, but as I said earlier, extremely inaccurate. Also, this game doesn't want you to go fast, but you have to go fast, so what the hell are you supposed to do? And that's not even the best mechanic. The best mechanic of the game is Taz, well, I guess this is true to the cartoon, will eat whatever's in front of him if you walk into it, including these bombs. And so what do? They put a whole row of bombs on, like, this ledge, so, like, the only ledge you can run on, the only ledge to land on to continue the level. I guess try your best to land in between the bombs or whatever, because you're just gonna eat it and blow yourself up. Fucking great. Tasmania. Ooh, best game on the Sega. My god. Like, who made this? This is the second level. And this is as far as I got. You know why? I gave up. And you know, here's the funny thing. I recorded all these games together, back to back to back. This takes up the majority of my playtime for recording for this video. And, like, that's a testament to my sheer will of trying to, like, get to a boss. I wanted to get to a boss to show you guys, like, hey, maybe something good happens. I don't know. Guess what? I didn't even get that far. I gave up. And you should too. This game is $13. I'd rather get... Alright, I'm allergic to milk. Deathly allergic to milk. I would rather get $13 worth of fucking cheese and then die. Just eat it like Taz eats these bombs and just fucking die. Because guess what? This game sucks. You know, I don't know. What do you guys think? Whatever. Don't play this game. So those are my 3 cheapest Sega Genesis games. Like I said, Sonic 2, is kind of a victim of, like, circumstance. I mean, it did come out with every single console pretty much bundled with it. If you don't own Sonic 2, then something's wrong. So that one makes sense. But God, those other 2 games are just abysmal. Just bad. Not good. But hey, what do you guys think? Do you own any of those games besides Sonic 2? I mean, you have to have that if you have a Genesis. Well, let me know in the comments down below. What are your cheap Sega games? Or do you have any Sega games that are crappier than the other ones I had on this list? Hey, that's going to do it for us today, guys. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. I don't know what console I'm going to do next. And I think rather than make a poll, I'm going to just make a random number generator. So we'll see what happens. But hey, as always, my friends, take it easy.